This presentation is on using the Foreign Relations of the United States documents, also known as Frus. So what are the Foreign Relations of the United States? Well, these are a set of books that include excerpts from various diplomatic records produced by the American government. And they're usually organized by region, by country, by year, and then published by the Department of State, specifically the Office of the Historian, which is, I think, a really cool job. But you can see on the left there is an example of what a stack of Frus documents would look like. On the right is what the front cover of one would look like. Now, one thing that is really cool, though, about Frus is that they are online, right? They are online. So if you were to go to the Office of the Historian, you would be able to look up the historical documents contained within the Frus. So you don't actually have to go get the book, though if you're like me, you usually like working with books, but in any case, you've got options. There are different ways that you can access the Frus document. One way you can do this is by browsing. So let's say I know that I'm interested in doing something from the year 1868. I'm interested in the Oper expedition, or I'm interested in the General Sherman incident, which happened in 1866, but the United States would keep thinking about because they were trying to figure out exactly what had happened to the General Sherman, if there were any Americans still alive. And I'll note when I browse that, hey, that was when Andrew Johnson was president, so I can click on him to see the documents from 1866 to 1868 and after. And when I do that, it brings up the years, and I decide, well, you know what? I'm going to look up the under 1868. That's the year I'm interested in. I'm going to look up the accompanying the annual message of the President to the third session of the 40th Congress, published and available in full text or ebook. So that's something I can click on, and it will bring me to another menu. So that document is divided up into different legations, different regions, different countries, and there's no Korea section here because the United States and Korea don't have diplomatic relations. But I know, of course, that the Oper incident, the documents produced by the Americans, were produced by people connected to China, right? So I'm going to click on the China section, right? It says China documents. I'm going to go there. And I see there's a couple letters. This looks interesting. It says Mr. Williams to Mr. Seward, legation of the United States. I know that Mr. Seward here is referring not to the consul who was named Seward, but his uncle, Secretary of State Seward, right? We're going through documents I already know, but I'm just showing you how you can click around to find this. So I can click on that document there. Notice it tells me who wrote the letter. It tells me where it originated from and the date that it was sent. And if I click on that document, here it goes. It gives me the document itself, and I don't have to read like the old font type. I've got this nice document that I can use an edit find command in. I can copy and paste out of it when I see something that looks really useful. I just want to make sure I label that carefully, right? But this is a really easy way to do this. Now you want to make sure again that you keep all the citation information because you need to be able to cite this. But this is really simple. And if you're not quite sure what to do, just picking a year and kind of going through it and seeing what you can find can be very interesting. And you may discover things other people haven't seen. And some stuff I just know from browsing this stuff, I'm always like, oh my gosh, wish I could live to be 1,000 because there's so many cool things to research. But that's how you can do things through browsing. Now, if you want to do a search, right, you can go to the search page. You notice it says up there search tips. So you can also see that. But there also is a search function. And let's say that we want to do something on the Pueblo. Right, remember the Pueblo incident. So we could just do a search for Pueblo and Korea. And if we do that, then this are some of the results. Right, here you can see that they found 217 results. That's quite a bit. So now we can kind of click around and see which ones might be useful. This one is not terribly useful because the Pueblo is a reference to Pueblo, Colorado. So we know this first reference is not terribly useful, but we can keep looking. But on the other side, this looks interesting. It says Editorial Note. Now, we know that if it's an editorial note, it is not an actual primary source. It is something that the person putting together the first document added to kind of explain the Pueblo incident. So, but that seems interesting. That's a good place to start. Let's have a look at that. And here it has this nice explanation of what happened at the Pueblo incident. This would be a secondary source. But do notice that it makes references to specific sources, right? And there's even a thing where it says page number. And if you clicked on that, it would bring you to the page with the reference, right? So this is a great place to start. Of course, if you use it a lot, make sure you cite it, make sure you give credit. And if you look in the lower right, it says Korea Documents, right? Korea Documents 1 through 369. So there's all these wonderful links that can help you jump around and find out where you're going. I would encourage you to make sure to save those links so you can find the information later again. But also remember, when you cite this, you can't just give the website link. You have to also cite the primary source document. So someone who doesn't have access to the website, who wants to work through the Frus document itself, can be able to find it. Got to follow the proper format. But this does make finding the information easier. And if we go down a little bit more on that page, we see, again, they're giving us all this wonderful information. And like I said, on the right, it says Korea Documents. And if you, 1 through 211 would appear to be the ones that have to do with Pueblo. So you can flip through all of those and find some interesting stuff on the Pueblo that maybe hasn't been referred to before. And if we click on those Korea documents, this is what comes up. And it gives us this wonderful kind of description of what the Korean documents are. And looking at this, I'm like, oh, okay, Pueblo crisis, there's the documents. But then also, oh, U.S. efforts to encourage normalization of relations between the Republic of Korea and Japan. That could be an interesting topic. And I might decide, you know what, I'm just not as interested in the Pueblo. I'm more interested in this topic, and I'll go look at that topic instead. Right? That's kind of the fun of searching and browsing. And if you're just stuck and like, I don't know what to study, sometimes this can be a way to do it. You just play around for a bit. I only was playing with this for like 10 minutes in preparing this presentation, and I found multiple different topics that could be pursued that would all work. But let's have a closer look at that Pueblo crisis. And so I flip around and, it's documents 212 to 331. Well, this document looks interesting. Telegram from the Department of State to the embassy in the Soviet Union? Wait a second, right? I thought this was about North Korea seizing an American ship, the Pueblo. Why are the Americans talking to the Soviet Union? Well, let's have a look and see what's going on. So if we click on that, okay, this is interesting. These are instructions being given to the American ambassador to give, in a sense, warning to the Soviet Union and to make sure that the Soviet Union does not try and take advantage of the situation and possibly make sure that the Soviet Union will help get North Korea under control, get us our soldiers, or rather our sailors, back. But notice also, don't just read the document, read the headings and things. Notice it says, literally eyes only for ambassador. This is like really, really secret stuff. We only want the ambassador to see this. So this is cool, right? Ooh, I'm going to cite the secret document, right, in my paper. And I'm not trying to be silly. This is neat stuff, right? And I had no idea about this, and I just found it through a few minutes of browsing. So point 3 is interesting because it's telling the Americans ambassador what he should do about the Soviets, right? And how he needs to get the Soviets to stop the North Koreans from doing this kind of thing. And number 4 is very interesting because it's basically a threat. It says, you may point out to Soviets that vessels of this type have been in international waters in this area for a considerable length of time, and you may note, as you think appropriate, that its mission is similar to that of Soviet trawlers active in many parts of the world, including close proximity to the U.S. So basically, if you read between the lines, it's saying, look, if the Soviets don't want to play ball, you tell them, you guys are doing the very same thing that the North Koreans claim we were doing. If you keep doing it, maybe we'll seize your vessel. Right? You've got Soviet vessels around our waters. You don't want to help us? Fine. Maybe we're going to decide to escalate. Interesting stuff. You got to analyze it. You got to think about it. But that's definitely what the ambassador is being told that he can do, is to threaten this kind of escalation. So look how quickly we found some really interesting stuff. There's still like 100 more documents, but already stuff is coming together. Now, I want to notice that the Frus site, and this is true for many archival sites, actually has a recommended citation format. One thing that's very difficult about citing is following the correct citation format for primary sources. Well, guess what? Frus is very nice and gives you an example of how to do that, right? So if this example here should help you, if it doesn't, go to the Frus website, check it out. They will tell you how they want Frus to be referenced.